Hello all. Thank you for joining NAMI New York State for our August Lunch and Learn. These Lunch and Learns were put together as part of a way to educate the public about various services or policies that we feel would benefit more people with severe mental illness, substance use disorders, intellectual disabilities, whatever mental health concerns they may have. We want to connect them to the resources and the education they need, and we often tie them to areas where we hope to do great advocacy work. Uh, with that, we'll turn it over. This portion will not feature any specific bill or policy as it's coming to us from our partners at the New York State Comptroller's Office. They're going to go over a really great resource, the New York ABLE program. We'll have questions available, time for questions available at the end. And then, as always, we try to turn off the recording and give folks a chance to ask questions anonymously. I will turn over our partners in just a second, or I'll turn over our partners now at the New York ABLE program.
Thank you so much, James, and thank you everybody for coming out today. It's such a good crowd for a lunch and learn. My name is Jenna McCluskey. I am the outreach coordinator for the New York ABLE program out of the State Comptroller's Office. If you have heard about our program before, hopefully we'll have some updates for you today. If you've never heard about the program, we will go into all the background and the ins and outs and everything. As James said, there will be time for questions, but you can always type them into the chat while I'm talking. And I'll share my contact information at the end. So if you have more questions afterward, or you are interested in a presentation for your group, you can always reach out to me after today. Get this working. There we go. So New York's Achieving a Better Life Experience program, which is what New York ABLE stands for. A high-level overview is that it is designed to help individuals with disabilities and their families to save for their disability-related expenses, earn income on investments free from taxes as long as they're used for qualified expenses, and it allows them to maintain their ability to benefit from the federal benefit programs that they may rely on. So SSI, SSDI, Medicaid, HUD, SNAP, none of those programs can count the money in the ABLE account as a resource against them. So it really is a revolutionary piece of legislation that really allows people a lot more independence than they were allowed previously. So background on the program, I'm sure all of you are more than familiar. The different federal benefit programs that people may receive, they all come with their own sets of qualifiers. So usually there are income qualifiers and asset qualifiers. So you cannot make too much money and you cannot have too much money in your own name if you want to qualify for their program. SSI tends to be the most strict of those programs. They only allow $2,000 in a person's name before their benefits get suspended. That $2,000 asset cap was set in 1989 and has not increased since. So in 1989, it may have been a reasonable number that if somebody was able to save up to that amount of money, maybe they really didn't need their benefits at that time or anymore. But in 2026, $2,000 does not get anyone anywhere. Having $2,000 in their own name at the end of the month certainly does not mean that they do not need their benefits anymore or that they can afford to have the benefits suspended. So that's where the Federal ABLE Act came in. Federal ABLE Act became law in 2014, allowed the different states to open their own programs, allowed individuals to open their own accounts with those states, and the law basically allows people to open these ABLE accounts, save money in their own name so they don't have to have a trustee or anyone else in between them and their money. And it allows that savings to be exempt from being counted as a resource against them by those federal benefit programs. So New York's program was launched in 2017. And as of the end of last week, we had over 5,650 accounts. We have over $75.5 million invested. And since we launched, New York ABLE account owners have withdrawn over $40 million for qualified expenses. So people are really using their accounts as they were intended. They're saving a lot of money for long-term savings, for emergencies, for expenses they'll need down the road, maybe for, retirement cushion. but they are also accessing that money whenever they need it as well, which is great. So who is eligible for a New York Able account? So you do not need to be a New York State resident to have an account with New York Able. So as long as the person is a US citizen or a resident alien that has a disability that was present prior to the age of 46, they would qualify. So that is the biggest change that came this year. Is previously, since the inception of ABLE accounts nationwide, their disability had to be present prior to the age of 26. Now that has changed effective January 1st of this year. That has changed from 26 to 46. So that was supposed to make over 6 million more Americans eligible for ABLE accounts nationwide that were not previously, including over 1 million veterans. And we can go through the other qualifiers. They only need to meet one qualifier, not all four. So really the high level qualifier is just if they've got a disability that was present prior to 46, they're good. They need to check one of these boxes when they're enrolling just to confirm that there is a disability in place. So they can either check the box saying they're already entitled to SSI or SSDI, or that they're blind, or that they have a disability that's included in Social Security Administration's list of compassionate allowance conditions, or that they have a doctor's note. So I think the vast majority of people usually say that they have a doctor's note. They do not need to send that into us. We are considered a self-certified program, so all they have to do is go through and check their boxes, check the boxes that they certify that they're telling us the truth and all of that. They do not need to send the diagnosis or anything like that into us. The only time it would ever come into play is if they were audited by the IRS. Then they would prove that they did qualify for their ABLE account and that their purchases were for qualified purchases, just so that they don't have any kind of tax penalty for the growth portion of any non-qualified withdrawals. Some other things to note on this page. Again, the high-level overview of who qualifies is disability present prior to 46. That's it. So they don't need to be under 46 to open their account. They don't even necessarily have to have a diagnosis by 46. So say they get a diagnosis at 50, but it's something that they've been having symptoms of for 20 years that has been going misdiagnosed. They would still qualify because they could say that that disability was in place prior to 46. And it also really works for any category of person with a disability. So it can be mental health, it can be developmental or intellectual, it can be a physical disability, it can be respiratory, so it can be asthma, or it can be ADHD or autism. So really any category there. And also anyone on the spectrum of disability in terms of financial situation. So a lot of people who are receiving benefits and are only allowed to have that $2,000 in their own name, they will open their ABLE account just for that, just so that their extra money can be put away, so they're not spending their money down constantly on things they don't want and things they don't need. So they can save money for the things that they do need, and they can easily access it by themselves. So some people will just open their ABLE account for those purposes. But for people on the opposite end, people that are disabled but are working full time, whether it's a mental health disability or physical, or whatever else, where they're still able to work and make a really good living, it's still a really great investment account. So the money that goes into your ABLE account can be invested, all grows completely tax-free, and is easy to access. So some people will max out their retirement account every year and then max out their ABLE account every year. And unlike a retirement account or some other accounts that people may be more familiar with, the ABLE account you can still access at any time. You don't have to wait until you're a certain age or have any other qualifiers to be able to access your money. So if you've got money going into your retirement account and you've got money going into your ABLE, and then you've got a leaky roof and need your roof patched or replaced, if you try to take it out of your retirement account, It might be penalties, fees, taxes. They might just say, no, you can't take it out because you're not old enough. It might be a loan that you have to pay back and pay interest on, where your ABLE account, you can just request a withdrawal and get the money right out. So it is a really great account and very flexible, no matter the situation of the account owner. So eligible individuals can only have one ABLE account nationwide, but anyone can contribute to it. So friends, family, parents, grandparents, anybody can be putting money into their ABLE account. It doesn't have to be solely the account owner's money. And unlike accounts you may be more familiar with, like a special needs trust or a college savings account, with an ABLE account, the account owner is the beneficiary. So what that means is that if they are capable of managing their own finances, they get to have full control over their ABLE account. They can open it themselves, decide how the money is invested themselves, decide how the money is spent themselves. They don't have to have any parents or grandparents or trustees between them and their money. So that's a really great option for people for that reason as well. So who can actually be the one to open the account? Because there is only one account allowed per individual, this hierarchy here is what we would fall back on if there is more than one person that wants to open and manage the account. Then we would decide who takes priority based on this list. So first and foremost, as I said, is the eligible individual. If they are capable of managing their own finances and they want to manage their ABLE account, they get to. Nobody can take that away from them. They can also select whoever they want to manage the account on their behalf. So say they're perfectly capable of managing their finances, but their spouse is the one that manages all of the household finances and they want to keep it that way, they can just assign their spouse to be their authorized individual on their account. That's totally fine as well. Then if the eligible individual lacks the legal capacity to open the account for themselves, that's when this more expanded hierarchy opens up. One can be open on their behalf by any of the following, again, in order of priority. So power of attorney, conservator or legal guardian, spouse, parent, sibling, or grandparent of the eligible individual, or a representative payee. Any of those people can be the one to open and manage the ABLE account on behalf of a disabled individual. The only time we will ask for paperwork upon enrollment is if someone checks that they are one of these legal designations. So if they say that they are the power of attorney, conservator or legal guardian, or the rep payee, then we will need to see the paperwork just to confirm that they do legally have the authority to open the account, open a financial account on behalf of that individual. So that's the only time that the account will get frozen until we can review that paperwork. But we do not ask for any proofs from spouse, parent, sibling, or grandparent of the eligible individual, because that can get really complicated. So if you're working with any families where, say, the parent falls under multiple categories, they're the parent, but they're also the guardian, they're also the power of attorney, they're also the rep payee. If they just check parent, then we won't ask any more questions and it'll save them the hassle of having to send in the paperwork. But they can, of course, check whichever box they prefer to check. But as long as they are the parent and they check that box, they don't need to send in any of that paperwork. So what is a qualified disability expense? That is what an ABLE account owner gets to spend their money on without any taxes or penalties. So the definition given to us by the IRS is any expense that is incurred as a result of living with a disability and is intended to improve the health, independence, or quality of life of the disabled individual. So these expenses include, but are not limited to, education, health and wellness, housing, transportation, legal fees, financial management, employment training and support, assistive technology, personal support services, account oversight and monitoring, and funeral and burial expenses. So those are all of the examples given to us by the IRS. It is a very expansive list, so we certainly can't say that it includes everything in the world, but it includes pretty close to anything. And the IRS has told us that they are not going to give us anything more specific. So as far as education goes, if you as an account owner or an authorized individual managing the account think something is considered education, then you should be good. We always recommend you hang on to the receipts just in case there's ever an audit so that you can justify those purchases to the IRS. But it really is very up to interpretation. We've asked the IRS for more specific guidance than this, and they have refused. They want to keep it nice and general for people, which sounds scary, but is actually a good thing. It seems like as long as you can justify a purchase to yourself based on this definition or these examples, then you should be good. And if there's ever an audit, you should be able to justify it to the IRS as well. So some more specifics, once somebody opens their account, they can contribute up to $20,000 per year. If they work, under certain circumstances, they may be eligible to contribute more than that, but typically, the average person is eligible to contribute up to $20,000 per year, and that is the total balance of all of the contributions. So if family or friends, anybody else is putting money in there, all of that money combined needs to be 20,000 or under in contributions annually. And New York Able offers one of the highest account balance maximums. So you can only put in 20,000 per year, but over time between growth and between, all of the years of contributions, you can have up to $520,000 in a New York Able account. Only exception to that is for SSI recipients. So SSI has said that they will count anything in an Able account over $100,000 towards their resource limit. So if you're working with anyone that is receiving SSI, you want them to be very aware of that $100,000 limit, just so that their Able account never negatively impacts their benefits. Because New York Able will still allow them to have up to 520,000, but after 100,000, SSI will start counting it. But anyone else, if they're receiving SSDI or Medicaid or no benefits at all, they're allowed to have up to that 520,000 without it being counted by anyone. So when you open your New York Able account, you get to choose from a number of different investment options. So we offer 4 portfolios that range from conservative to aggressive options. We also offer an FDIC insured savings option and an FDIC insured checking option. The checking comes with a debit card. So that's the one that is super quick and easy to access the funds from. But they're still able to access the funds from the savings or the investments anytime, just not through the debit card. They would just have to call us or sign into the website to request a withdrawal from the other options. But from the checking, they can access it right with the debit card, just like any other debit card. And they can choose any combination of all 6 of those options. So they can really diversify their account, have some in more aggressive savings or aggressive investments for long-term savings, some that are safer in the savings and the checking, so they know it'll be there when they need it, if they need their money on a regular basis. They can choose whatever combination works for them, and they can change those contributions or change those options for future contributions anytime they'd like. So they're not going to be locked in to the options they choose during enrollment. They can change that anytime they'd like to, make it work for them on any given day or week or month or year. So this is just a bar graph that shows what the different investment options are made up of. The aggressive is 85% stocks and 15% bonds. Then as you get more conservative, there's obviously less stocks, more bonds, more cash, making those the safer options until you get to the savings and the checking that, of course, are all cash. I'm not sure if anybody on the call today is actually going to be opening an account for themselves or a loved one, or if you guys are all just working in the field. So I don't know how deeply we need to go into this, but for people that are unsure of which investment options to choose, what's best for them, typically we go with the rule of thumb that the longer they're looking to invest for, the more comfortable they might be going more aggressive, because the aggressive will ultimately grow more than any of the others, as long as the money is left in there long enough to withstand all of the ups and downs of the market. So typically, the more aggressive options are for more long-term savings. The more conservative options and savings and checking are for the more regular purchases like monthly bills, rent, things like that. So these are the fees associated with the account. There's 0.28% asset-based fee for the savings and 0.35% asset-based fee for the investments. There's a $2 monthly fee for the checking, but that one is completely waived if they choose electronic statements or if they have an average of $250 in their account. And then there's a quarterly maintenance fee, no matter which option they choose. That is $10 per quarter if they've chosen electronic statements, or $12.50 per quarter if they've chosen paper statements. And that is for the entire account, not per option. So it's not going to charge them multiple quarterly fees to diversify their account. Some other options available to ABLE account owners. ABLE account contributions may qualify for the federal tax credit called a saver's credit, that can help them save for retirement. There's more information on the website about that. There's also now an option to roll over from a 529 college savings account to an ABLE account with no federal or state tax penalties. So if the individual has a college savings account already in place and they're either not going to go to college, or they went to college and there's still a lot of money left over and it's just sitting in that account because they don't want to have the taxes and fees associated with a non-qualified withdrawal. Now with, like I said, no taxes, penalties, fees, they can roll over up to that $20,000 per year from the 529 college savings account to the ABLE account. And if there's more money in the college savings account than 20,000, they can keep doing that once a year. Every January 1st, they can put in a request to roll over 20,000. So it really expands how you can spend the money in your college savings account, and it expands how you can fund your ABLE account. So that's a really great option that we're excited became permanent this year. Lots of different ways that people can withdraw and contribute to their New York ABLE account. They can contribute just by sending us a check in the mail. They can set up a payroll direct deposit. They can do an electronic fund transfer by signing into the website and typing in all the information from their other bank account. That can be a one-time deposit, or it can be set up as recurring automatic contributions. Like we said, you can roll over from a 529 account or another state's ABLE account. There's also an online gifting option called UGift, where they'll get a unique code associated with their account that they can share with whoever they'd like. And whoever has that code can go onto the website, type in the code, and contribute to their account. So that's great for birthday gifts, graduation gifts, holiday gifts, things like that, where the money can go straight into their ABLE account without impacting their benefits. Withdrawing funds is super easy as well. They can use their ABLE debit card or write a check if they have money in the checking option. Otherwise, they can call us to request a withdrawal, or sign into the website and request a withdrawal that way. And the withdrawals are super flexible. They can be done electronically. They can be done via check in the mail. We can even send a check to a third party in the mail. So if they get a bill or something like that and they don't want the money to have to flow through them, we can send the money directly to pay that bill. And all of those withdrawals can be set up on a one-time basis or automatic recurring withdrawals as well. So to enroll, the information they would need is name, date of birth, address, social security number or tax ID number, and phone number of the eligible individual. And if someone else is going to be managing the account on their behalf, they would need that information for that individual as well. Then they would check their basis of eligibility. So that's whether they've got a doctor's note or, met one of those other qualifiers, and their category of disability. Then they would choose their investments. So all 6 investments will be listed with boxes next to them. And in each of those boxes, they will type in what percentage of every deposit they want going into each of those options. And then the account gets funded with as little as $25 or $15 with payroll deduction. This is our main contact information. Our call center is open weekdays from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 855-5NY-ABLE. Our website is mynyable.org that, of course, you can go to 24/7. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to type in my phone number and email address in the chat. And if any of you have questions, like I said, after today, or if any of you are interested in another presentation, either to your staff or families you work with or anything like that, you can reach out to me anytime and we can get that scheduled.
Hey,
So
great. We did get some questions in the chat, so we can
fantastic.
start working down that list. One was just a simple, can you use the Able debit card to go out for a inexpensive dinner or other food item?
So that would be ultimately up to the account owner to decide if they think that that qualifies. I'm not allowed to say that because, ultimately, if there was an audit, it would be up to the IRS, not up to me. But food is something that a lot of people say, would be health and wellness, something like that. You can't be healthy or well if you don't eat food. So I think there's justifications there.
One person asked, is the asset limit different for SSI versus SSDI?
Yes. So you can have I as far as their actual asset limits that SSI and SSDI set outside of the ABLE account, they are different, but I can't say what SSDI's is. I think that might change based on the person's situation. I don't know if that's as static as the $2,000 SSI limit. But as far as I know, SSI is the most strict of all of them. Then as far as the ABLE account goes, they're also different, where SSI will count anything above 100,000 in a person's ABLE account. Anyone else, including SSDI, will count and will not count anything in the person's ABLE account.
Uh, would an Able account be considered an asset to disqualify a person from Section 8?
No, it should not. They should not be counting anything in the ABLE account. In fact, I've actually done presentations with Section 8 because some of their programs, they require people to have a savings account to be ultimately saving up for hopefully getting their own apartment or buying a house down the line. And they were met with a lot of people with SSI saying, well, I can't have that savings account or I'll lose my benefits. So now they actually connect them directly to us because the ABLE account counts as that savings account for their purposes, but the money is protected and won't impact their benefits.
Great. We'll get back to the questions from the chat, but first we'll let Lisa feel free to ask your question.
Yeah, I have a unique situation. So my son does have a 529 plan.
Okay.
It was a gift from my late husband's family.
Okay.
I don't know much about it, but I do know that when he was born, it was part of his gift. He has a severe learning disability and he's dyslexic. So I don't know if college is going to be an option for him right away. So I would like to hear a little bit more. What would you recommend for me to, like, what would be the next step? Because I
Of
like that
course.
idea of rolling that plan over to an able
Yeah,
plan.
so the rolling over is super easy. Once the ABLE account is open, you would just find the rollover form on our website and fill it out. So you'd fill out all the information for the 529 account, fill out all the information for the ABLE account, and we would pull the money over for you behind the scenes. Um, and you can start doing that now so that you can access the funds for things other than just education, or I don't know how old your son is. I assume he's not college age yet. You can also use those funds once they're in the ABLE account for education while he's younger. So if he's got learning disabilities and he needs tutors or he needs adaptive equipment, things like that, in New York State, K through 12 expenses do not qualify as a qualified 529 expense, but for ABLE they do. So if you think you want to be able to access those funds sooner for his more immediate needs, you can roll it over now. Otherwise, you can, keep the money in the 529 account growing and roll it over down the line. It's totally up to you.
Oh, wow. That offers a lot more options because I was concerned. He
Yeah.
currently goes to a BOCES
Hmm.
school, and I was concerned, like,
Yeah.
after he's 15,
Yeah.
he's going to be on the normal path. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thank you
Yeah.
so
And
much.
no problem. And there's also, I've worked with some programs. There's a program at Syracuse. There's a couple of other colleges that have programs that are specifically for people with disabilities. They're wonderful programs. They're usually 2-year certificate programs, but the ones that I've worked with are not yet accredited. So for 529 purposes, they are a non-qualified withdrawal. So if you wanted to use your 529 money to pay for that kind of schooling for your child, there would be taxes and penalties associated with that. Where now, if they're going to one of those programs, now you can roll over from 529 to ABLE with no taxes or penalties, and then use the ABLE money for their education, also with no taxes or penalties. So it really does make, even if it's just education that you're still talking about, it still makes the 529 account a lot more flexible.
Oh, wow. Wow. Thank you so much. I
You're
think
very
that's
welcome.
I would
very
also note
informative.
another resource you might want to access is something called Access VR through the New York State Department of Education. I am also dyslexic and dysgraphic. I was able to use that resource for adaptations when I was in college.
Yeah.
And so that might be one area where you can find more resources that aren't necessarily from your own accounts, but they might actually provide those services free of charge. One person, Mr. Coyle, had brought up the potential for the contribution to exceed if you're a working person, if you are working,
Yep.
and there's an extra 15,650 per year, which amount that they can contribute, or does that?
It's around that. I think it might be 15,590, 15,560, something like that right now. So the qualifier for that is you need to be working, but there can't be any contributions for that calendar year towards a work-related retirement account. So that additional amount is kind of intended to supplement the fact that you're working, but you don't have a retirement account with work or any contributions towards one. So what you're allowed to do if you're in that situation is you can contribute up to the poverty line for a one-person household for the previous year, which, like I said, I think is 15,560 or something like that right now, on top of the 20,000 or their annual income, whichever is less. So if they make $10,000 a year, but they don't have any retirement contributions, then they can contribute up to $30,000 into their ABLE account every year. So, not a ton of people qualify for that because a lot of people that are making money do have retirement contributions. But it is a great option for people that want to utilize that option.
We have more questions in the chat. We'll let Chaos 2 Calm do the next question.
Hi. Yeah, hi, my name is Janet. How are you today?
Hi,
I just
Janet.
had a quick reflection from Ms. Boyle, if that's okay. I actually have a small resource hub, so a lot of my clients, I've referred a lot of their adult children along with their younger children to various organizations with kids with disabilities. And the Borough of Manhattan Community College offers a wonderful college accredited program for kids, for young adults with learning disabilities or all type of disabilities. I actually had a client's daughter that had autism, nonverbal, and got an accredited college degree from the BMCC. My son also has Tourette syndrome, graduated first in his college, got a scholarship to number 3 in the country. No disability defines us or them. Always remember that.
Thank you, ma'am. We did have another question in the chat. When somebody does their yearly report, if they have Social Security money that has not been spent, can it be put into the New York ABLE account?
Yes, absolutely.
We had another question of what is a 529 account?
So 529 is a state-run, federally legislated college savings account that you can open for a child, of any age, so you can save for college. A lot of people, my team runs the ABLE program and also the 529 college savings program out of the state comptroller's office. And the New York 529 program, I want to say it's getting close to their 30-year anniversary now. So the 529 program is a lot more popular, a lot more well-known than ABLE. So a lot of people do have college savings accounts with 529 already. So that's where the connection comes in with ABLE is, when people have a bunch of money saved there, but then their child is not going to go to college or there's leftover money, because there's qualifiers on how the money has to be spent or what the money has to be spent on. That's why it's such a great option to be able to roll that over to the ABLE account to make the 529 more flexible and not just for higher education expenses if your child gets to that age and they're either not going to go to college or going to have money left over.
We had a couple questions about if there's an amount more than 20,000. A couple folks said specifically inheritance, but
Mhm.
what do you recommend would you recommend a special needs trust if there is an amount greater than 20,000 that someone wants to
Yes.
distribute now?
If they are not eligible for the able to work program, which is where they're working and don't have those retirement contributions, so they are limited to that 20,000, but they're getting an inheritance or a settlement or anything that is larger than that, that's when a special needs trust can come in really handy. And they can both work really well together. So they can have a special needs trust and an ABLE account. So say you're getting $100,000 inheritance, you could put that 100,000 into a special needs trust and roll over 20,000 a year into the ABLE account so that that portion has possibly lower fees, certainly easier access, and a wider definition of what you can spend the money on. So you can definitely have both.
So we have a couple more questions, but we'll go to Chaos to Come. I see you have your hand up yet.
No, that was prior.
So,
Sorry.
okay. Could you expand on the Able to Work program? Because I see somebody has another question on that.
Yeah, I mean that's the same thing that I was just talking about. So I may have explained it enough already. If I did, I apologize. But yeah, that's the program where if the account owner is working but is not contributing to any retirement account through work, then they are eligible to contribute more than that 20,000, which this year, like I said, I think is around 15.5. I don't want to screw up the exact numbers. So that means absolute maximum. If they qualify for that program, they could be contributing a little over 35,000 to their ABLE account every year instead of 20.
Okay, great. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat that we have not already covered, but if someone were an adult with disabilities that is interested in going to college, what do you recommend they know as they start to plan this out?
If they are looking to go to college, you said?
Yes.
If they are looking to go to college, if they've already got a 529 account, they can certainly use that. If they are going to be doing any programs that don't necessarily qualify as 529 expenses, they can always move that money into the ABLE account and utilize that there. You can use the money again for education, for adaptive equipment, for any other kind of support services, really anything they could need for college, their books, their computers, their housing while they're there, all of that.
Great. I know one of the things that prompted us from NAMI is that mental health is one of the most common causes of disability claims for those who are younger adults. Actually, for older adults, it tends to be more spinal skeletal injury. For a lot of folks with who are looking to plan for their family member who has severe mental health issues, right? Can you go over more about their when you are deciding whether or not a person can open an able account, their issue has to start before the age of 46. Does a mental health diagnosis matter before the age of 46, or can any mental health issue exist before then?
As long as they can comfortably say, or a doctor could comfortably write them a note that says that that mental health disability was in place prior to the age of 46, then they would be good. So say it's mental health related to a traumatic brain injury that happened when they were 50, then they would not qualify because we know that the actual onset of the disability was after 46. But if it's depression, bipolar, schizophrenia, anything like that, where they have been having struggles with that for years. And their doctors know that, and their doctors could say, yes, this was already in place, even if they didn't have a diagnosis, then they would absolutely still qualify and still be able to open their ABLE account.
One question that just came in, does the deposit have to be cash? Or what are the types of ways you can deposit?
No, yeah, actually, I don't think cash is even an option, honestly. So contributing can be done through check, sending us a check in the mail. It can be done through payroll direct deposit, or you can sign into the website and do an electronic deposit where you're typing in the routing number and account number of your other existing accounts that you want us to pull money from.
Cass, I really appreciate your comment. Would you mind coming off mute and sharing a little about your story? Kale Sakam, thank you again for sharing the story of your son. I don't know if you want to share that again or.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't I didn't hear
That's
you. I'm sorry, please excuse me. My son actually, he was diagnosed at 3 years old with Tourette syndrome, muscle weakness in his shoulder girdle, which contributed to a static tripod. In other words, he couldn't hold a pencil, he couldn't tie his shoes, severe muscle weakness, which contributed to the way he, held things, motor skills. He was diagnosed at a very early age. He got an IEP. They wanted to put him in like classes with like kids with like Down syndrome and stuff like that. But his issue was more like an emotional aspect of it. Like stress was his key. Stressors would trigger like his vocal and motor tics in class, which was a little disturbing to a lot of the students. But thankfully, I found them a small school. The community was wonderful with us. We got him an IEP. I had him in early intervention. Let's just say that he's doing well at the age in 2021. He got a full scholarship to SUNY Polytechnic for interactive media and game development. He is now 26 years old with a perfect credit score. He graduated in 2021 with a degree in interactive media and game development during the pandemic. He is now 26, bought his first house, bought his first car, and I'm so proud of him. And he has not had any tics since 2000 and I think it was, 2022 that we had him in continued. The proprioceptive input was very important, and learning about the nervous system, learning biofeedback and relaxation therapy. What I did was I collaboratively just started researching and doing your education and just learning different cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical things that I was never taught, things that even the educators couldn't teach me. So collaboratively, we worked together, and my son made it. And there was a time where I was so distressed because when they label your son with Tourette syndrome, you think that life is over, especially educational purposes. And I was like, it was so distressing. But he had 25 therapies a week from the age of 3 to the age of 15. So, Miss Boyle, with a little bit of hard work and belief, because what you believe you shall receive and achieve. God is good all the time, right on time. And I always like to say, from chaos to calm, from rebel to resource. And anything is possible. When you believe, you shall receive and achieve, beautiful lady. So trust and believe that it's doable. And don't ever count them out. Trust. Don't ever count them out. So thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much.
We'll do one last question before we turn off the recording and allow folks to ask questions while the recording is off in case they don't want to be on that. Will an IEP service documentation of disability for a New York Able account, or is there other documentation needed?
I don't think the IEP documentation would technically qualify, but typically to get the IEP, you need to have the doctor's notes and all of that. So the same doctor's diagnosis should be more than enough to qualify them for the ABLE account. But again, we are a self-certified program, so you don't need to send any of that into us. You just hang on to those proofs. And if the account owner, the disabled individual, is audited by the IRS, that's when you would give them those proofs to prove that they did qualify for the ABLE account, and the receipts to prove that the purchases were for qualified purchases. You do not need to send them to us.
Great. So thank you for everyone joining us in the recording. We do put these recordings up on our YouTube account. Their link is in the chat for anybody's looking for our past ones. This one will likely be up within the week. We look forward to having future events, including our next one, which will focus on assisted outpatient therapy with members of the New York State Office of Mental Health. With that, thank you all for attending, and we will close out the recorded portion of this presentation and allow folks to come off mute and ask questions without being recorded.